This is episode 54, and you're on approach.
63, climb maintain 13 down.
13,000, Tempo 63.
So 63, contact the New York Center 128.3.
28-3, Tempo 63, good day. Hello, Captain.
On Approach is a flight sim and aviation enthusiast podcast featuring the top user-submitted news and stories on the skylounge.tv. Welcome back for another week, everyone, and my God, is it a big one? My goodness, my goodness, my goodness.
I was going to say there's an elephant in the room, but I couldn't fit one. Not with me in it, anyway.
So with us tonight, we've got Mr. Sparks Smudge in the center there. Mr. Sparks.
Hello there.
Checking in from London, from the UK. We also have a very, very, very static Mr. Kevin checking in from the happiest place on earth.
Walt Disneyland. No, it's Disneyland. Yes.
Disneyland. So while one developer is having the time of his life, another one is living quite the opposite. This takes us to our first story. Let's get right to it. But first, a shout out to our Sky 5. These are our popular contributors this week. From the top. Wait, hold on. What is this I see here? Do you see what I see?
I see Angelique 662.
Are you sure about that?
Angelique 662.
Sparky, we have a tie.
Oh, we do. We're Gibbon.
It alphabetized it, but we have a tie. Coming in with 12 Sky 5s this week. Angeli 662 and Mr. Gibbon. Thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you guys for taking the top spot. Following very close behind, Mr. Crazy K, who left some amazing feedback for us earlier this week. We got to chatting, and we have some really, really cool things to announce soon for our new spotters. And there will be more on that in the next coming weeks. Thank you for the feedback on that, Crazy K. Coming in fourth place, Ivana Fly, slowly falling. And not close behind, Mr. Tomcat UK in a number 5 spot. Ladies and gentlemen, without their contributions to the website with stories and news, we've got nothing to talk about on Approach. So keep the stories coming, please. Every story you submit helps to keep the content flowing here on the podcast. Head over to the skylounge.tv and submit that news.
I posted one just a few moments ago, and it's very easy to do.
It is very easy. We try very hard to make it very easy.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Where do you start with a story like this?
I don't know, man. We just have to dive in. Submitted by Crazy K, top story this week. I'm sure you've heard about it. I don't think there's a place you could have hidden that you didn't hear about this yet. Whether you fly commercial planes or not, was the FSL, which is FlightSimLabs.
This in the caves of Afghanistan, for God's sake.
They have. Was the FSL A320 installer compromised? Put your conspiracy hats on. Here we go. Crazy K says a user on Reddit just posted something worrying about the A320 installer, which apparently contains a password dumping tool related to the user's Chrome activities. How true or false this claim is something to be confirmed by FSL themselves, which I'm sure will be revealed in a public announcement soon. So as you can see, Crazy caught this story very early on. In fact, it was so fresh that he was messaging me on all platforms saying, Edson, you must approve this right away. And I love that. I mean, it was a hot potato when it came in. The above was then confirmed by Bellins, aka Matt Davies, or I should probably say by Matt Davies, aka Bellins, Twitch stream and Discord, where users confirmed the existence of such a file, which could be used to the user's disadvantage. Matt then contacted Lefteris, I guess it would be Lefteris Calamaras, via Skype, and was promptly responded to in private via a phone call, explaining the situation. That right there as damage control already starting. However, Matt denied to comment on the matter and only hinted as a possible misunderstanding of the real use of such a file. So long story short, you buy the A320, you install the A320, and with that install came a file into your system, which was a test.exe file. That test.exe file would reach into Chrome, grab your logins and passwords, and essentially shoot them up, and it would phone home. It would shoot them up to somewhere.
Call it malware.
They call it malware. However, it seems that FlightSimLabs simply calls that DRM. Any thoughts,
We've got
guys?
different views on we've got different views on DRM, I'm afraid.
I think we have different views on what we consider our own personal space here on our computers. You know, Kevin, any thoughts?
This has been brought up that this has gone up out of proportion very, very rapidly. It exploded to mainstream media, and I can't remember having seen this since the FSX Genius days. It's quite impressive, actually, the amount of reach this got for what it was. Look, there are multiple ways to think about DRM. There's multiple ways of protecting software. But this is, I believe, one of the most intrusive one I've seen in a long time. And I don't think it's right to do that. Again, it's important to reiterate that this software, this we can call it malware, was installed on systems that had used serial numbers that were pirated. So it's not something that was installed on machines of customers. That's important for people to know because some headlines don't make it appear that way. So
allow me to jump in right here. I'm sorry, but I think what I read was that it installed on everyone's, but only activated on some. And if it didn't register that serial number being illegal or potentially pirated, then it would clean up as a part of the installation process, right? So like in the end, you're right, it would stay, it would not have this file on your computer left, but it did pop it into the system on every install at some stage.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I have not been able to read in length about the topic. I'm reading it right now, so I'm trying to figure out the information that I get. I had a lot of feedback from a lot of people contacting me about it, so I know most of the information, but those details may not be accurate in my mind.
It's interesting, as I kind of described it that way, I thought to myself, my goodness, it's like walking in to the bank, but then going behind the counter, walking into the vault, and then, either walking out with the money or walking out empty-handed. Either way, like, you've gone too far, man. It's beyond where you are allowed to be. Like, you've gone too far.
They were never transparent about it either. They weren't like, yes, when you, I haven't installed it because I don't have it, but I assume when you install it, you're going to get up a user license agreement. And does it say anywhere in that user license agreement that this software is going to run on your machine and this is what it's going to do?
That's a great question. I have not heard any mentions of it being in the EULA.
Well, in terms of DRM, a lot of companies will not disclose what they're doing. It would be easy to crack and have on torrent sites if it was disclosed. So I don't have to disclose it all. It's not excusable. don't know what they're doing with this software.
I don't know what they're
Information.
right.
What are they looking for with this software? What are they
So
looking for?
here's the breakdown. They were getting their stuff cracked, and it was always ending up on the torrent sites, and it seemed to have the same source every time. And through the back end of the authentication stuff, they were able to kind of start to find a pattern in this cracking, and that it was multiple IPs from around the world dialing in with, you know, a specific array of serial numbers, and it being authenticated. So what they thought was, well, let's see if we can catch this guy in the act. They knew the websites that this stuff was being hosted on, but they couldn't get in there. They almost knew where the source was, the actual source, but they couldn't get into these websites. So their thought was, hey, well, we'll just grab the dude's Chrome file that contains his login and password, but not only to that site, his Pornhub as well, his Netflix as well, his bank as well. We'll just take all of his information, and then we'll have a login and password to this site, and probably to the authentication server that he's using. Turns out the way they were cracking the file was that they were setting up essentially their own authentication server, like sidestepping altogether. And so their thought was, well, we can get access to all this if we just steal the guy's personal information. That's not
That's
very
gotta be
smart.
illegal.
It's
It's got to be illegal, right?
It's gotta be illegal. So the story made its rounds like wildfire. Linus Tech Tips, Rock Paper Shotgun, Torrent Freak News, Vice News, Ars Technica, PC Gamer, Fidus Information and Security, Guru 3D, Future Game Releases, Heist News. I mean, it went everywhere. And there are more and more and more, but it just doesn't make any sense. When you have names like Ars Technica and PC Gamer and Vice News in here and Linus Tech Tips, it doesn't make sense to keep adding to the list. It's everywhere. Some of the really interesting stuff that I found was over here at Torrent Freak News, where they not only had the actual article, but had a screenshot of this password stealer in action. So as you can see here, it's got the person's, these are logins to servers, right? And in this case, administrator, root, manager, administrator. So it's very possible this guy's a web admin or a server admin of some type. They've got all that info now. So we're talking way beyond basic information here. We're talking the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, that's scary. It's real scary.
That's scary, man.
That's
terrifying.
It's unfortunate that a developer like that magnitude, because let's remember who FlightSimLabs is and what they've done. It's incredible that a developer of this scale does something like this. I know I'm a developer, and I know that when things get torrented, you're ready to put your life on the line to find who that person is and to seek justice. Oftentimes, you cannot get justice through the normal justice system because it's either too expensive or the person is in another country that's not necessarily reachable. So you find alternate ways to deal with this. But I don't think that this is the right solution. If you can invest a lot of money into DRM and protect your software. To give you an example, Chaseplane has not been cracked yet. Most of our immersion packs aren't there in the latest version, available to everyone on torrent sites. And TFDI either, the airplane has not been cracked. So It also depends on the popularity of the aircraft. FlightSimLabs has very popular aircraft, so that will attract a lot of tech hackers that would get into the code very easily. But I mean, if you build your DRM to the biggest of your abilities, then if it's cracked, I mean, there's not much you can do above that. The PMDG gets cracked all the time, and they're the first to jump on the guns legally about anything and everything. So if they get their things cracked and they don't put malware on their thing, you know, it's you can't just go around and add those things to an installer and just tell everyone that it's just for one guy. It doesn't work that way.
I think the way that he described it was heavy-handed. And like
if you're to do that, at least put in a mechanism that doesn't do that for everyone. Like, at least, like, the file should not be there in the installer for everyone.
Right.
It should be done when it senses that it's on a computer that's being targeted. You know, if you want to be like NSA kind of shit, you do that. But you don't go like they did. It's not.
So an interesting clip out of this Ars Technica article that I didn't really see mentioned elsewhere. He says, the writer says, the overzealous DRM brings to mind EA's use of unremovable and intrusive secure ROM software to protect some of its titles in 2008. If you guys are gamers, you remember this shit. And Sony's installation of a system destabilizing rootkit inside of audio CDs played on PCs in 2007. Both of those efforts led to multiple lawsuits against the publishers, and those instances didn't even reveal any of the user's personal information. Honestly, if FlightSimLabs gets away with this shit without people suing them, people, you got no balls. I don't own this aircraft. I cannot stand up for myself. I wasn't wronged. This shit is wrong. Do something. Call the fucking lawyers. Find a community and say, yo, let's put our money together. Let's get a lawyer. Get a class action going. I don't give a fuck to forgive somebody because they make a plane I might want to fly. Fuck that. Have some balls. Sue them. Make them pay. This is a complete violation of your personal space that is your PC, man. And your personal information on top of that. Everything. The login and password, where maybe you have photos of your kids somewhere on iCloud, on your Google Photos drive, your login and passwords for work. Think about all that stuff.
All your iTunes,
violated.
All your iTunes information, your purchases, everything.
Well, I think the Pornhub one is the biggest one.
Yeah. So looking at some of the comments here, we'll continue on. Smurf John posted a little bit of information about the test.exe file and saying that it was located in the system already and that not to be alarmed by FS Labs. Turns out there was definitely something to be alarmed by. Crazy K reports that there's no such file on his system anywhere, including the folder link mentioned above. Plus, the harmful malware by FSL has already been proven to be a sniffer, so that's kind of discrediting that initial post. Mr. Aviator Moser jumps in with this absolute gem. I wish you could hear the audio, but if you have seen The Dark Knight and the too much power scene, you know what this is about, okay? I'm gonna keep the audio fairly low as this has so much relevance to this industry right now. Let's check this out. So we'll keep it low, but there's a reason. There's an absolute reason that these displays are blurred right now, right? Because I can't say too much more, right? Like, do the math. But here we go.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, he says.
Unethical. Dangerous.
Beautiful, unethical, and dangerous.
This is wrong.
I've got to find this man, Lucius.
At what cost?
The database is now key encrypted. It can only be accessed by one person.
It's an amazing clip and it's so fitting, right? It's just all of a sudden the potential for somebody to have this full visibility to your life like that. No. That's too much, bro. That's too much.
I just thought about something as well.
Yes.
If, you know, this is like sensitive enough information that could also potentially harm competitors.
Absolutely.
Because if someone has access to, if they have access to someone in the high management of another company in the flight sim space, they potentially have access to a lot of things, a lot of data. Of course, they're not going to get there and destroy everything, but they have access to data, and that has a worth somewhere.
It does. Can we turn back time a little bit, Kevin? My memory is not great, but am I correct in saying that FlightSimLabs was already in hot water at one point regarding utilizing someone else's modeling?
I cannot remember if it was Aerosoft, Blackbox, or FlightSimLabs. It's a possibility, but I cannot confirm.
I want to
hearing
say
something.
that it was FlightSimLabs with the Aerosoft stuff.
There was something, but I can't remember who it was.
It's coming in clearer now. I want to say it was definitely FlightSimLabs versus Aerosoft on that battle. But then it got worked out, and all good.
I don't think this is going to work out, though. I don't think this is going to work out. I think this is going to be the tombstone on FlightSimLabs, to be honest with you.
I don't know how strong of a company they are, but this is going to be the ultimate test for them.
Yeah, if they can survive this somehow, yeah, you're right.
Because it's not just about the money either; it's about the trust from the users. A lot of people will forget this in about 2 weeks. You know,
I give it a week, unfortunately. With the way that many developers treat consumers in the flight sim space, in 5 days this is forgotten, and it's weird that so many people have been wronged, but it will be forgotten. But developers in this space don't have the greatest track record with having the ear to the community and interacting with the community. And it was beautiful to see. I'm going to throw Rex into this right now. It was beautiful to see that Rex is looking for like a social media manager and a PR person or whatever it was. Slips my mind right now. But like somebody to interact with people. Like you need that, because a lot of times the top brass at these companies, they have a different goal in mind. And that goal is to keep the company running. That goal is to keep making money. That goal, where PR people and people in support initiative, with a support initiative, they have different goals in mind. They're of the people. And we need to see more of that. There has to be more touch points with consumers from developers in the flight sim space.
Somebody needs to keep the customer happy.
Somebody has to. Absolutely. Have you ever tried to get a refund on a flight sim product because it absolutely did not work in an ecosystem that they said it would work in? Yeah, doesn't happen often. However, oddly enough, in this case, let's go down the official statement provided by.
The official statement.
I'm gonna try my best here to read it in full, and I might skip around here and there as needed. But we'll dive into it now. So this is the official statement from FlightSimLabs on this whole thing. This is meant to be their wrap-up. Hello all. We feel that it's only fair that we disclose fully the extent of our DRM efforts here. Get the fuck out of here. DRM efforts? That's how you start this off. Okay, sure. So let's discuss exactly that now. But first, I need to personally direct my attention to those who feel offended by our actions and to say that we realize it's an issue whose extent we hadn't grasped at first, but now fully understand and apologize that we offended you in any way. How do you feel about that right there already? That's like...
Hold on. Apologizing for them, for us feeling bad about this. Am I right? Am I reading this right?
You're reading that right.
So they're not having put this in the first place. They're apologizing for us feeling bad about it.
For those that feel bad about it. Those.
Yeah.
The 3 or 2 people out there that feel bad about it. Right? Like it completely is taking the problem and trying to compress it down as if we are a few. Right? Instead of saying, because they think that the community isn't interacting. They think that the community isn't connecting. Right? AVSim shut down the fucking forum discussing this. Why would a community shut down a forum?
They did that because somebody didn't put their full first name in.
That's PNDG, that is.
That's good. But see, the thing is, it's kind of like, you work at an ISP and your entire network is down. You make a statement and you say a small segment of our network is down at this time. We are working hard to restore service. It's not a small segment, but you kind of assume that, Bobby on 47th Street isn't going to talk to Billy on 96th Street, right? So a small segment. They're each going to feel like, oh, it's just my block. No big deal.
They not realize how big this community actually is.
Yeah, and how big
it's a handful of people.
Well. Yeah. It's a fun thing to think about as well, is that this is giving community in a bad way, but at the same time, it's about us. This is potentially going to bring people in.
Yeah. So he continues, I also want to thank, again, the majority of our customers who have declared their support and continued trust already. But for those who feel their trust was violated, again, those, we feel it's only fair to offer full refunds of your paid P3D V4 purchase. Just let us know through a support ticket. Bruh.
But we've already got your information and all your passwords, so, we'll give you your money back.
Bro, even if they don't, right? Like, I mean, bro, come on.
Yeah, but it's ultimately, like, people that get refund right now, they're gonna buy it again in like 3 months, and they know that very well. So it's not a big deal, I think, for them. Well, it certainly is in some extent because it's refunding money, but they know. I'm pretty sure they know that people who do that will buy it again in a few weeks or months.
So before we dive into exactly what the P3D V4 installers do, a heads up, we did have Kevin switch over his microphone. He's now dialed in via mobile, which should give us a little bit of a crisper sound for him. But we do thank the fact that he pulled away from the happiest place on earth to join us tonight on the special show.
Yeah. How's that satellite connection working?
Much better, bro.
I have to ask Kevin, what does happen at Disneyland at night when all the kids are in bed?
Well, the parents have fun, I guess. It closes at 11, so I guess the older one's still there. Well, Josh is still there, actually.
Oh, man. All right, here we go. Number 1. So what exactly did our V4 installers do? As soon as the user entered their customer information, order ID, serial number, email, it verified this against our server database. Genuine customers and any other legitimate serial numbers trigger a proper full installation, and no tool was called or used to figure out any pirate info. The installer that temporarily extracted the tool would remove it as part of its normal cleanup operation under upon proper installation completion. Please also keep in mind that this was not an issue with earlier FSX and V3 products. Obviously, he's already defending the past. He knows this is wrong, right? He knows this is wrong. So, as you see here, it definitely was popped in, but then withdrawn. It was pulled out once, you know, that was a ghost. It was pulled out once, you know, the serial number authenticated as legitimate. But then you've already crossed the line.
Do we have word on when this was injected into the installer? My bet is on the last update, but is it said?
I don't know, but I believe it was all the V4 stuff from the start. Because otherwise, he's on such a defense that you almost would think he would have put. So what did our P3D V4.1347 installer do? Right, like he's saying the V4 installers.
Yeah, but the ultimate goal of that tool was to find out who the person is that put it on the Pirate Bay, and it has been on the Pirate Bay for V4 before that last version that they had. So my assumption is that if it's the beginning, they would have had that data and removed it from the installer because it would no longer need it. That's my assumption. I don't know. My belief is that it was added into the last big update. Only a few days for people to find out.
No, bro. This was reported back in October on their forums.
Oh, wow.
And they were told via the FSLabs forum to disable your antivirus before installing. So this has been there from the start. And probably the reason is because their V3 one was cracked, their FSX one was cracked, all of them were cracked. And so they were like, fuck this, with the V4 one, everyone's going to want it. We're going to put this in, you know? So
and they left it there just in case the problem came back.
Right, right.
Maybe.
Number 2, what happened with misspelled, misunderstood, and unknown serial numbers? Valid question, right? Like, what if I just misspelled my name? Would it install this and run? So he answers, as soon as any such wrongfully typed or mistyped piece of information would be detected, the installer would simply alert the user on the mistype and return to ask for the data again. It would not cause any tool to be called to figure out any pirate info. It simply stopped and waited for corrected information. Again, no personal data would ever be extracted. Number 3, when exactly would the tool be triggered? And this is the meat of it. Here's the core of, for some reason, what made him think this would be all right. This is what leads up to the decision. Flashback to our first A320X release for FSX and P3D, 32-bit. We discovered soon after the release of our product for those simulator versions that there were specific crackers who were successful in sidetracking our protection system by using offline serial number generators. We could not find out how this would happen, but we happened upon a particular set of information, user email serial, that would occur recurrently from a specific IP addresses. We tried to add more tests in our subsequent installer releases, but the specific crackers were also upping the game in ensuring they sidetracked our installer. We even went so far as to figure out exactly who the cracker was. We have his name available upon request of any authorities. Oh, authorities will be in touch, I'm sure. But unfortunately, we could not be able to enter the registration-only websites he was using to provide this information to other pirates. We found through the IP addresses tracked that the particular cracker had used Chrome to contact our servers. So we decided to capture his information directly. And this is where the light bulb clicked, right? And only his information. Obviously, we understand now that people got very upset about this. We're very sorry once again. as we had a very good idea of what serial number the cracker used in his efforts. With our P3D v4 installer, we discovered through more detailed installation logs that there was a specific set of pirate data that came up over and over again. So we decided to target that set of data directly. As a result, we made our server listen for a specific subset of data sent from the installer. And when that was triggered, to dump that cracker's information needed for us to gain access to those websites, so we could then forward the information to proper legal authorities. So listen, you're gonna steal from the thief that stole from you, and somehow that makes it right? That's not how it works. There's no court in the universe that would take any evidence they grab maliciously this way as any sort of valid evidence in a case against someone. That's not gonna happen. I'm not a lawyer, but you don't need to be a fucking rocket scientist to know that. You can't do that. What the fuck were you thinking? What is very ironic here was that this method worked. In fact, we were able to receive this information. We discovered with dismay that behind this person there was an entire web of operations that had been set up that not only provided an interested person with a pirated copy of our product, but that it used its own eCellerate key generators together with offline activators by changing the activation server IP addresses to match the pirate servers. That would then validate those keys directly. Apart from our company, there was a whole host of other flight sim developer companies whose products were being shared and offline keys generated. Kevin, that sounds like some crafty shit, eh?
It does sound like some crafty shit. And the thing is, all right, if you have a software, you want to protect it, a good way to do it is to send it through an online activation. It's the safest way we know of today. That's what most company uses. Now, if someone fakes a response from the server that looks valid, there's not much you can do, really. There's not much you can do at that point. I mean, like I said, you can't just go around and steal information like this. Online activations might not be the right way for them then to control DRM, but ultimately, if someone spoofs servers, nothing you can do, really. So yeah, it's a case of it's a very complex case that could happen to most, if not all, developers to a certain extent.
It's extremely elaborate. Extremely elaborate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because eCellerate.
There are people. Yeah, there are people in life that only strive by those kinds of achievements. So there are people ready to do that in life and to hack the shit out of it and get up to that point, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So it's crafty, right? It's essentially like, a train is on a set of tracks. These guys removed a straight segment of track, installed a Y segment of track that leads to another station, and basically, as the train came, pulled the fucking switch. Yeah? Now derailing.
Yeah.
But getting this train safely to another place to authenticate. So eCellerate, for those that don't know, is a very commonly used kind of a, what would you call it, Kevin? A key activation sales portal thing. It's a generator of keys with your algorithms and whatnot. And they essentially set up their own, which means it opened the world up for these guys to provide what looked like legal keys for any product that used eCellerate on the back end to activate. All they needed to do was remove the straight piece of track, put in the Y piece, which is changing the IP. So yeah, in the installer.
The issue with using software like eCellerate and e-commerce systems that are already built is that oftentimes you'll have some groups of hackers trying to decompile the entire thing and find weak points on them, and that allows them to create and spoof servers like we've just observed, and create the situations we're in right now. To give you an example, our own system for dealing with sales was built from scratch by us. So there's no way people could access the code or try to reverse engineer it with other people and of other spheres that uses the same software. So if you use a big software like this, you have to expect those kinds of things to happen. It's a sad thing, but it's a reality.
So they provide 2 images as proof. Yeah? Here are 2 images that showcase 2 of the websites in question. In the first, we can clearly see how extensive the damage to all our favorite add-on providers is. On this list, we've got Aerosoft, AES serial numbers, ClickTeam, Flight 1, France VFR, FSU IPC, WideFS, Majestic Dash, McFat, Sim Add-ons, Sim Market, Tweak FS, Wilco Field Air. And yes, when you see Sim Market, that means the Sim Market ecosystem.
Yeah,
right.
Because, I mean, I bought stuff off Sim Market, and
it's eCellerate.
It sends you back to Sim Market to authenticate it, and then it sends it back.
And as you can see in the screenshot, they have the link to the eCellerate activation area, right? That's basically where it's going to dump you to get your stuff. Let's read a little deeper into the mind of this person, Boeing Lover. Boeing Lover seems to be the lad behind this whole scheme, if you will, as he does claim it here. 2004 idea and coding by Boeing Lover. Dear wingmen and fellow pilots, I'm confident you know the famous "as real as it gets" statement, which is particularly vital in the flight simulation world. It means you would like to have an experience similar to the real one, with all the custom add-ons you have installed. I would like to make a parallel comparison, saying "as original as it gets." I will always keep saying that I don't like all the rips. Rips in the world of pirating are basically like you take all of the files that out of a folder that an installer placed, and you put them in a structure exactly like that, and then other people can move those same files into those folders, right? I don't like all the rips, custom installers, and self-made solutions for flight sim add-ons. I want to stay as close to the original stuff as possible, simply because it dramatically reduces the possibility of potential errors and failures when using sometimes improperly cracked software. Remember that every time you use the executables that are patched or cracked, there's always a potential risk that you lose stability or reliability, simply because we're not able to predict the consequences of running the code which was patched in an assembler. See the PMDG 777, for example. Of course, sometimes there's no way other than to use the cracked files. However, if it is, I always prefer to go this way. Keeping this in mind, I have created the place where you can get the registration data just like you would get it from the original retailer. There's no trick behind that. Most of the security algorithms available here were analyzed, evaluated, and tested. I've been planting the idea of this site for some time already, but due to lack of time and priorities in business and private life, interesting, sounds like a professional, I am introducing it to you now for our comfort and better experience. As you can see, it's not finished yet. It's rather an initial setup. I will be adding all algorithms that I have cracked which are suitable in this place. And there are some rules, of course. Please keep in mind that this site has been created exclusively for just a couple of the most trusted folks. All serials and license data is personalized and unique for each user. Sharing this data is strictly forbidden. I believe we're all serious people, and I will never have to solve any problem in any ultimate way. With that, enjoy your stay here. So dude, it was like he literally set up a side store.
I like the bit at the end where he says, "Well, we're going to steal it and we're going to crack it for you and give you the serial kills, but please don't share it."
Right? What the fuck? Can you
unreal.
believe that, Kevin?
I can believe it. Yeah, it's very well written as well. So that guy knows where he's going, and it's not his first flight, let's say.
Yeah. Beautiful.
There's a decent list of developers and distributors right there.
Yeah.
And is that website still up yet? I don't know.
I don't know, but let's check. So we're most definitely going incognito for this one, but let's check if it's still up. Bum, 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 bum. Nope.
No.
It's done. So it looks like his idea is over.
But then again, if he's obviously, as you said, he's probably a professional or whatever, and he's obviously been doing this a long time. He knows his stuff.
They should hire him.
He's probably just moved it.
Right.
He's probably just changed domain.
Probably. And there's also a screenshot for another website. Looks like a torrent site, but you see the name Boeing Lover pop up here a few times. The Majestic-8 FSX Turbulent Designs Terraflora. Oh no, that one is by somebody else. But the Dash 8 and the Dash 8 Pilot and Pro Edition are listed under his name. So they're showing that. Yeah, well, we don't know. I don't know. Did this come? Are these screenshots taken in some other way? Because if these screenshots are using the Boeing Lover's credentials, this login up here where it says hi blank, that might fit Boeing Lover, maybe. Let's see. That doesn't fit Boeing Lover. So this was submitted by someone else on the inside, I believe, because down here that is definitely not welcome Boeing Lover in that little space. So either they were able to create an account using some stolen credentials. Either way you look at it, they did just as wrong as this guy did. There's no other way. Let's go on to number 4. How does that affect you as a customer? The tool that was used to dump the pirate's information will never execute on your machine, unless you were the particular person targeted that used that set of data mentioned above. Even if only some of the data matched, the installer would receive a negative response from our server and never execute it. Safeguards on our servers ensured that there was no possibility that any other than the one targeted would actually have his personal details compromised. And there's the admission. Even so, we realized that it doesn't justify even temporarily extracting it via the installer on people uninvolved with this situation. This was a mistake. Thank you for saying that, because that's been my gripe. Even temporarily moving it into my system folder, no. So this is, it's trust, and that trust has been violated. So how can I trust that your system was remotely triggering this file, and that it wasn't just triggering all the time and sending the data all the time? How can I trust? How can anyone trust?
I know. That's
I have another before we go to that. I just a thought. They probably have some relationships at Airbus, haven't they?
I would think so. This is considered a study level. Am I right?
Yeah, and they probably have the approbation of the approval from Airbus for this. So I don't know what's the state of this going to be, because now that it's everywhere, it's plastered everywhere. I'm pretty sure Airbus is most likely aware of it. That's the only relationship they really need. That's the best one. That's the only one that they need for developing aircraft on the platform. And I don't know how the relationship between them and Airbus is going to be after that.
What about the relationship between them and other developers? Do you think that other developers are going to be like, yo, bro, like, we don't want anything to do with you now. I'm sorry. Whatever we were working on, like...
That doesn't really matter. Because they're pretty, like, they're alone in their bubble, just like PMDG is.
I'm guessing that most developers will say, well, thanks for pulling this guy down and taking him offline, but you went about it the wrong way.
Yeah. And you're right about that.
I'm pretty sure Aerosoft is happy right now. Yeah, they must be selling licenses like crazy or anticipating some sales.
So you're saying that this is Rat Bastard number 2?
Yeah. They should be doing a sale like the FS Labs chargeback sale or something.
They're probably throwing a Rat Bastard celebration party, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on to number 5, realizations. As I mentioned in the first paragraph above, I wanted to ensure full disclosure, first and foremost, to our customers, some of who feel their trust was violated. Look, my man, stop trying to minimize the actual problem. So let's just say 100% of your customers should feel violated. You're not apologizing to some. You're apologizing to all. You fucked up. Apologize to everyone and move forward to rebuild the relationship with those that are gonna let it stick on their souls and never hand you another dollar. Work on that, but apologize to everyone. In fact, apologize to the entire fucking flight sim community and the developers, because now you've put all the other developers into weird spots too. How are we going to trust all these installers? That takes me to another point I wanted to make. How many times have you been told you must disable your antivirus before installing this software?
Nope.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. I'm not doing that. I never have. I never have. You know what I do? And I'm going to say this. Everyone should do just this. A lot of developers out there say disable your antivirus before installing. A lot of them do. Here's what you do. You add only your flight sim folder to the exclusions. Okay?
Yeah.
Just add your flight sim folder. The main P3D, add that to the exclusions. They can play in that sandbox all they want. But any other file going anywhere in your system should be run through some type of an antivirus. And if it triggers, stay away. Because no developer that is worth its weight in fucking gold of trust, like, should tell you deactivate your entire system's protection, bring down the force fields and let us in. I promise we'll be good. No. Sparky, would you bring down your force fields for a rogue ship?
No. I mean, I've installed stuff and it's flagged up on my virus checker as, a possible false positive, which you get quite a lot. But
and you have a decision at that time.
There's websites out there where you can go and check it.
Yep.
So take the file, go check it against the website. The website says, yeah, it's clean. Then you're good to go.
Yeah, because there are exceptions. To give you an example, Chaseplane uses memory injection to send some of the data to the sim directly. And some antivirus are not very happy that an application cross-talks to the memory of another application. And those cases are false positive. But when you really think about it, it comes down to trust as well.
It's trust.
Because that application could be messing with other things on your system, could be going into the memory of like Chrome or other application and do the same thing that we've observed now with FlightSimLabs. So down to a certain point, it's also trusting the developers, but it's hard to trust them when we see what just happened, basically.
But also by not saying completely disable your antivirus, you're not removing somebody's option to not install that software, right?
Yeah, but no, not necessarily. Installing a software, there's a lot of complexity as it goes into it. And installers like the ones that FlightSimLabs uses will extract most of their content to the temp folder on Windows. And that's where all the installers will put their things when they start installing. And that's where the antivirus comes in and scans and finds it in the temp folder.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But if it registers, it asks the user. It says, "Hey, my man, suspicious file. What you want to do? You want to quarantine or you want to carry on?" And so users have a choice.
Some antivirus are way too stupid to do that. Like a lot of them are way too stupid to tell the user or give the time to the user to react. Most of them aren't that smart.
Well, honestly, guys, if you have just the standard Windows antivirus, consider getting something like Malwarebytes, which is going to give you the power to filter through.
That's what I use. It's very good.
Yeah, it's going to give you the power. I mean, this is your ecosystem. You know, everybody's PCs. These are our ecosystems. We protect this shit. We can't be told bring down a force field to install something, unless obviously you know, can't get past the installer and email support and they say do it. At least then you have somebody that has told you in written form, I need you to do this, so that if something malicious does happen like this, you have that shit written. Listen here, bud, you told me to bring down my protection and you did harm in my system. You're wrong. The guy in October.
But in that case, that doesn't apply because there's no traces left. It's all stealthy in the background. It's just stealing information. It's not something you can trace or something you can be made aware of. But what you could do if someone asks you why, when someone asks you to disable your antivirus, there's nothing preventing you from asking and detailing why and what in the process causes this.
Correct. In a support ticket, absolutely. But at the same time, they're going to turn on their antivirus afterwards anyways, and it'll catch a test.exe file or a Trojan horse or what. It'll catch that stuff in a post-scan later on, another day, another night, it'll catch it.
Yeah, but as it was said, the file was cleaned up after the install. It's not
in this case,
that remains
yes.
on the system.
But see, at the same time, though, that is why you don't just simply disable your antivirus altogether.
Yeah, or you ask the right questions to the right people.
Or you ask the right questions to the right people. Exactly. Yes. Here we go. I also want to reiterate that there was no personal data sent or kept that would mean a breach of privacy, except for that subset of information regarding the websites mentioned above. We have already replaced the installer in question and can only promise you that we will do everything in our power to rectify the issue with those who feel offended, as well as never use any such heavy-handed approach in the future. Once again, we humbly apologize.
Well, the judge is going to agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's going to come down to a judge to see if they, you know, have done right or wrong, right? The community can only raise the awareness, and we've seen from the websites that have gotten this covered. I mean, god dang, bro, when has Flight Sim been on Ars Technica? I mean, come on now. And the memes have begun.
The memes
have begun to end this on the lighter note. The memes have begun. This is Sparky out of an Airbus. Yeah, this was one submitted by you. Malware scheme detected. Forum threads close. Refund claims ignore. If still public after 30 seconds, lawyer contact, wallet brace for impact. It's just making a good add-on, charging $150. No refund policy, adding malware. The genius increases. Oh god, it's just nonstop. The fucking the stick in the wheel, bro. It's incredible.
Dude, it's so what's happening right now.
It is. This is pretty much live, man. I mean, they just keep coming. Be a company known for making quality flight sim aircraft. Literally putting fucking malware into your aircraft. FlightSimLabs. Donald Trump one. This has been the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. It's just an ad for a free PC check. I mean, they go on and they go on. Thanks to the Flight Sim Reddit for those guys. What a week. I don't think we've ever really had a story hit the front page with this much impact.
No, not for, as I said, and not as Kevin said, not since FS Genius days.
Yeah, FSX Genius or FS Genius, yeah.
FSX Genius, yeah.
FSX
And that
Genius.
also made mainstream news, but it was not as direct as this.
Right.
This is an add-on developer selling an aircraft, and now we have that aircraft plastered everywhere, and that's never happened, not
No.
that I know of.
Never.
No such thing as bad publicity, huh?
So if you want,
I do think the only positive thing that's going to happen from this is that people are going to be made aware. Potential like customers of our community will get made aware of, will be made aware, I should say, of our community, and that might bring a few more people in. But that's the only positive outtake that we can get out of all of this.
and our circles are pretty much saturated with opinions, yeah. But you've got kind of the fanboys of the product that, you know, are probably just gonna forgive and forget here real soon, because they'll miss flying their Airbus. And you have you know, the community that, you know, the part of the community that maybe had not purchased this yet, saying, my gosh, like, I'm never giving them $1 because it's easy for us. We've already made that decision to not do it for one reason or another. Maybe it was the price tag that kept us away. Now we have something else that kept us away. But if you really want to see an interesting perspective on this, I make this recommendation to you. Head over to these public media links and read the comments there. Read from security guys. Read from people that are not in the flight sim realm, and you will finally hear what it's really like beyond our flight sim bubble when it comes to something this bad. This is bad.
Very bad.
Ars Technica isn't gonna lie.
No, why I don't understand why they didn't go to a security company in the first place.
Right.
There's plenty of them out there that actually hire hackers and say, "This is my product. Have at it and tell us how to secure it."
Yeah. So
I tell you what, though,
K, go ahead.
Before we close off, I believe there's a part of me that believes this is going to be a net positive for the community. People like to impulse react, and I believe some people will get refund on that aircraft and go buy other interesting aircraft like what's on the PMDG fleet 717 or Aerosoft or comparable aircraft. So I do believe that people will turn around and actually go and buy and propel the market that we have right now. I strongly believe that. And people that are in the community now are not going to leave this community because of what happened.
Right.
People are going to see that from the outside and maybe join in, but I don't believe that people will leave this community for what it is now. So I think we can talk like all we want about how it was bad, what they've done, but all in all, I think it's going to be a net positive for us.
That's a really, really good closing thought there. So Mr. Crazy K in his original post says, as a customer of the FlightSimLabs A320, I'm disappointed in their methodology and lack of transparency regarding the matter. That statement is beautifully written. That's really what it boils down to. OMGEDSON, I'd like to request that you and others in your weekly On Approach show discuss this matter at length and provide some feedback on what your thoughts are regarding such practices. Guilty until proven innocent. I'd still like to see FlightSimLabs make an honest and genuine apology. Crazy K, I hope that we did the topic justice. In full disclosure, I said it at the top of the show, I'll say it again. I do not own this aircraft. I've not been violated, but I would not have liked to be in the position where I felt that my stuff was compromised. Yeah, because that statement to me does not say sorry for the fear I would have of having the keys to our kingdom. Because we are a web-based entity, the keys to our entire kingdom potentially compromised. That's not okay in my book in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Sparks.
I'm the same, Edson. I don't have this product. I don't intend to have this product. I'm just putting that out there because I'm waiting for the Aerosoft Airbus. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, highlighting these things are very important, I think, to make the community aware that you've got to look after your systems. You've got to keep your protection up. You've got to, sit behind a firewall, because these things happen all the time. There's malicious software, there's backdoor Trojans, there's scrapers, there's scanners, and you got to protect yourself, man. And I'm glad this actually came out to bring that awareness.
Yeah, I have been provided a copy of the aircraft from FlightSimLabs themselves for development purposes. So I didn't buy the plane per se, but I still own it. I believe, like I said earlier, I believe this thing has been blown out of proportion. What they've done is wrong, but when we stop for a second and look around at the data that Google and Facebook harvests from us, it's probably to the same extent, if not worse, than what we just witnessed. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, what they've done is wrong. I'm not. It's not like I don't think they did the right thing there. But we have to put things into perspective as well, and realize that it's not as big as It's made the outlets, it's made the news and everything, but I don't think it should have gotten that big ultimately.
Due to time restraints, we're going to breeze through the top stories. Submitted by Angeli662, the Just Flight project announcement for X-Plane 11. This is the Hawk T1 Advanced Trainer. A beautiful plane now coming to X-Plane. Submitted by Mr. Gibbon, the FlyX Simulations announced Lanzarote for X-Plane. That's like X-Plane news this week, huh? So another Lanzarote for a different platform. And now on to worth mentioning. From the top, the speed round. These are things that have been discussed previously that are now released, and items that have been updated. Tropical Sim Bilbao LEBB 2018 has been released for P3D. The PMDG 747 has received its update for 4.2. If you recall last week's show, Mr. Kevin mentioned having issues with the 747. This resolves it. Turbo A 1.2 update officially announced. The Flight Factor A320 Ultimate has been released, coming in at $89.95. Descent to View LGHI developer update, some new images there. SSG E-Jets 195 Evolution for X-Plane is now released. There is a gorgeous video of that plane. That's a must-see. Head over to the show notes down below. SimStarter has been updated to support 4.2. Switzerland add-on for Aerofly FS2 has now been released. I can only imagine how beautiful Switzerland, the Swiss Alps, look in full photoreal. Flight 1 GTN is now compatible for P3D 4.2. This is the one I've been waiting for. I don't know if that means I'm ready to update to 4.2 yet, but definitely a step closer. The Coronado Fokker 50 is now out. Pretty much as soon as this show's over. I know, right? Totally did. As soon as this show is over, I'm probably going to get that. Prop Strike Studios' upcoming Quantum River Airport has some new screenshots, and FS2 Crew voice-controlled multi-crew coordination for the new Mad Dog X. Voice control! All right.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this very special show. We hope we've been able to provide some insight as well as some advice as to, you know, this whole dramatic scene of mistrust and whatnot. We hope to catch you next week right here for On Approach episode 55. Until then, Sky 5 everybody.
Sky 5.
Climb maintain 13 down.
13,000, couple of 63.
463, contact the New York Center 128.3.